Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Scoreboard Media. Scoreboard Media works with high schools across the country to run professional sponsorship programs on their LED scoreboards. Whether you already have LED and you just want to supercharge the revenue, or you want to use sponsorship revenue to buy new LED video scoreboards, Scoreboard Media can help. They work with sponsors and advertisers locally, regionally, and nationally who want to connect with your school's community. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to start the conversation and see what's possible.
I think small adjustments versus complete overhaul, that's a lesson that you have to learn as a coach, I think, through failure. Unless they can listen to this and they haven't gone through it yet, don't do what we've done, like a parent kind of telling a kid. But I learned that years ago when I was at McKinney High School with Wes Watson as his varsity assistant. My first year with them, we had a really talented senior group, and we ran some Kansas ball screen motion, and it worked with that group. But dribble drive motion was coming on. Calipari's packet and Memphis was floating around. And so we were all looking at that. We had returning one dynamic guard that we thought in 4-out-1 and dribble drive could really start the wheel. You know, and if you have a guy that can go from zero advantage and create something, and then you start those drags and you get some closeouts, dribble drive can work. And we were going to help them get to be better shooters. Well, through the summer of that year, that player got in trouble and was ineligible for his senior year. And we had spent all spring putting dribble drive in everything. One, I think there's a danger if you're doing everything because of one player. What if they get hurt? What if they're ineligible? What if whatever? But they leave, you know, and then do you overhaul completely? Well, we lost this guy and we felt like we couldn't do it. So we went a complete different direction, more of a Bobby Knight style of motion, averaged 52 points a game and won 7 games. And the whole year, it was a struggle. And we felt, so here's what I kind of jotted this down. I think small adjustments keep confidence in what you're doing. Complete overhauls, I think, crush confidence. Because to the players, it's a sign of, crap, he doesn't think we're good enough to do this anymore. And so over the years, even some teams that I don't feel like are capable of running and gunning the same, we can make some small adjustments, but we're going to be who we are. But I think you just have to go through failure like that to learn that lesson.
I think that goes to not just system structure. It goes with, I think, players that you're playing. That was a big thing for me, just this inconsistent lineups, that the chemistry is not there. And, for whatever reasons I was making those decisions, I feel like looking back on it, I think hurt us more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember last year, I think this is towards Christmas break or something. Some of the guys that we were playing just weren't producing the way I wanted them to. I can't really recall like what my headspace was at that time, but I think I started the next game all freshmen. I was like, you know what? We're gonna try to send a mission. Those freshmen come out and get a nice little lead, and I turned to my assistant. I was like, I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
But
I'll send a message. The message is these dudes need to be playing and not those dudes.
Yeah, that was a huge thing I learned. And again, what I credit is the guys, mentality last year of they could have easily fell apart.
Yeah.
Just with how things were going, but they stayed with it. And we were in a lot of games, and, we made too many mistakes, but their mentality, coming the next day into practice, lifted me up, how they impacted you. And like, that was huge. So they gave me a lot of confidence that we have something special going on here. Now we just got to put it all together.
I think that's a great sales pitch, maybe for more of a positionless mentality with basketball, or at the very least to cross-train your players. to have traditional point guards or shooting guards doing different things because of injury, because of sickness, all the things that will happen throughout a season. You may be down 2 or 3 of the guys that typically you have running the majority of your actions. And again, do you teach something new? All right, guys, we don't have these guys, so we're gonna do this. Or do you cross-train them, take your offensive identity, the things that you want to do, break them up into drills and have everybody go through them, even your bigs go through initiating actions and doing things. Maybe you have a versatile big, and by drawing that defender out, changing up something, I've noticed that a lot of those bigs don't handle coverages well on the perimeter if their guy isn't the one screening. Like, they know what to do if that happens, but they don't know what to do if their guy is the one receiving those things. And so I think you can play around with that, but maybe it helps in those situations. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, we try to be as versatile as we possibly can. We want to take advantage of mismatches, whether it be on the perimeter or post, and whether it be guards posting up or bigs on the perimeter. It's all about what you got. I think you got to coach to what you got. But there's, again, just going back to the 80-20, this is how we're going to do things, and then you make the small adjustments as needed. But we try to get our guys doing a little bit of everything in terms of drill work and stuff. And two, and with breakdowns, if you're able to get them to kind of go through some of those actions, they have an understanding of what the action is occurring and what they should be looking for over time. It takes a lot of time to get to that, but I think it's huge, especially at the high school level. You get your bigs working on ball handling and reach from the perimeter. Number one, if they got a big on their team and that big's on the perimeter, it opens up the basket a lot more. There's no rim protection now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's huge. And then you work on guards posting up. When I was in high school, my coach had me doing a bunch of, he had the guards working on post up stuff, and I think that makes your game all around game better. I think you still got to stick with, I would say 80-20, 80% of the time you should be working on these things. Maybe 20% of the time you work on this other area so that you can slowly develop over time.
That's a really good word. And that's coming from a TABC player of the year back in the day.
Back in the day when I was a little bit, in shape.
Yeah, but that's a big deal, though. Player of the year, like, not many guys get that.
No, it was fun. Winning state helped, playing at a small high school, and we had a really, really good team. People don't know, but we actually went to the state semifinal in my junior year. But nobody knows that because at the time, 1A, we played our state semifinal kind of during the regional tournament. 1A only had a state championship game in 06. 07 was the first time they had it all at the Irwin Center. So it was fun. We had pretty good team. I think 3 or 4 of the guys from my high school team played in college. That's pretty unique for a 1A.
That's big time. You can win state doing that or having that on your team for sure. That helps. And then coming from a small school but having a lot of basketball success, what was that transition like going to then SFA?
Huge. We ran nothing but zone in high school, and I went to Stephen F. Austin and played for Coach Casper, who was one of the best half-court man-to-man defensive coaches around and wasn't exactly the best defender. So it was a learning curve for sure. And then also a lot of things you can do at a small school you can't really do against, talented players and, size and athleticism. So the first year was a huge adjustment, but that's going to be every freshman at any level. And it took me a couple of years to kind of figure some things out. What were the teaching points, how I can get myself in a position, and trying to be smarter to make up for my athleticism or lack thereof. And it takes time. Development takes time, learning takes time. And so it was fun, but it was definitely a difference.
In high school, I could care less about the defensive end. It was all about offense for me. My skill work, the things that I valued, and my high school coach, Tommy Thomas, I think put up with me on that end of it because I was good enough offensively. And I think that happens a lot of high schools is because they can score and do so many things offensively, there's almost like a turn a blind eye to what they maybe lack. And I'm not saying that's good, but you're right. That next level, realizing that I can't do the same things, I had to become a great defender. Do you think as a high school player that obviously you want to be well-rounded, but focusing on the offensive side, becoming really skilled with the ball. And even if there are some deficiencies defensively, coaches like yourself, or at least the level of play and the athletes, will help these guys to become good defenders.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at what you're trying to value in the, say the recruiting process. Are you looking for a defensive player? Are you looking for length and athleticism? Every level is going to kind of be different. We tend to kind of probably look more on the offensive side as opposed to the defense, because we feel like we can make the adjustment with the defense with how we do things. So we want to find that IQ on the offensive side, and then hopefully we'll be able to work the defensive. Other programs might be more defensive and they'll work the offensive. I think it just depends on what you value.
But for all those high school coaches out there that are worried that they're not helping their players enough by making them just lockdown defenders all the time, and we're focusing on the offensive side, this is just my experience, but great offensive player in high school, got me recruited to Baylor. At Baylor, realized at the Big 12 level, I'm not athletic enough and I'm not skilled enough to still do those same things I want to do. But then if you care enough, you're strong, you get in the weight room, and you buy into that side, I don't think I took a charge in high school. I don't think I did. And in college, 2-year Mr. Hustle Award, which at the time I thought that was like the award you give to the kid that he doesn't really do. I got nothing else for him. Just give him Mr. Hustle. Now I'm proud of it, but I got that. And then, I was assigned to guard Kirk Heinrich, Kareem Rush, Andre Emmett, TJ Ford, like some of these elite players, not because there wasn't anybody else for me to guard. Coach was wanting me to do that. So I believe that that's the side of the ball that can be taught quicker and to almost anybody. I wouldn't change a thing though, in like the ability to make shots, the ability to handle it, pass it, flow into multiple offensive systems. I just still see the value in spending a majority of the time on that. Just lost credibility with maybe half the listeners or the truly defensive-minded guys. If you come into Grapevine Faith right now, you just won't see a lot of that. You'll see a lot of shooting.
Yeah. No, offense, if you look at everyone that gets recruited, you talk about offensive numbers, very seldomly are you talking, unless you're like just a freak big that's getting blocks left and right and rebounds and stuff. But you're going to see guys get recruited for their offensive ability, I think, more often than the defensive ability. I think the defense just comes into the program that you have, like I feel like we probably recruited a good mixture of guys at Stephen F. that were probably more defensive, rounded, as opposed to offense, but there was guys that were recruited for their offensive ability. So it kind of depends on what you need and all that stuff. But in terms of high school, yeah, you want to develop the offense and you want that guy to be really good at something. You are great at something as opposed to being good at everything. Because if you have that kind of staple, this guy's just a great point guard. He makes the decisions, he has the poise, handles the ball well, makes passes. I think that's huge. If you get a guy that's 45% 3-point shooter, man, that's huge. So they're going to get recruited for something that they're really, really great at. And then, if you're kind of all around, I think it's a little harder to kind of gauge, what level someone's going to be at.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.